Bootstrap versus funded.
Bootstrap any day. At least up to a certain point, you should bootstrap the company, because when you have limitation of resources, it allows you to innovate. It allows you to work 3x more hard, or it forces you to work 3x more hard than when you have resources. Third, it just separates the men from boys, right?
Men from boys. Interesting. So we are, I mean, my days with my funding boys. Hopefully they'll become men. I don't necessarily disagree or agree with that. That's a good one. Hey everyone, today we have Ankit with us, the founder of InsuranceDekho. InsuranceDekho very recently raised a 60 million round, valuing the company at $600 million. They're on the path to become India's largest insurer. Ankit, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure's mine, guys.
Cool. So we'll start with the rapid fire. Ankit, so the first question is, if you could be a professional in any other field, very different from what you're doing today, what would it be?
I would be a bureaucrat.
Okay. So it seems like you thought about it.
I come from Bihar. Bihar में जब when kids grow up, right? Uh, at least when I was a kid, you were given two options. Either you become an engineer, that is, you go to IITs, or you become an IAS officer, right? So maybe
Or both, I
yeah,
guess.
or both, right? So I have a bunch
Best
of
combination.
friends who are IAS officers. I have a bunch of extended relatives who are IPS officers. So it's that.
Yeah, I remember one of the founders on our podcast had said that uh, his parents have only recently accepted him as a founder because they would be like, yeah, all this is good, but IAS की तैयारी कब कर रहे हो? So,
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, Aviral. When you go to the small towns, right, the kind of respect a government servant commands,
right,
or a government officer commands, it's not even funny.
right,
And the kind of work they've done at the grassroots, we people sitting in big cities are not able to appreciate it.
correct.
And being in government services just gives you a lot of uh, opportunity to make a difference to people's lives, and that is something which I've always yearned for since I was a kid.
Awesome.
Ankit, what is on your bucket
So
list?
on my bucket list, I really want to spend a lot of time with my mother. I lost my father, so I've not been able to spend time with my mother and father at all for the last 7 8 years. So I think if you ask me, on my top bucket list is spending a lot of time with my mother, taking her across the globe, because she's not traveled anywhere outside India other than Dubai. So I really want to take my mother and show her the world. That's one. Second, female education is something which is very, very close to my heart. At some point of time, I want to set up an NGO which focuses on female education and female hygiene. Both are very, very big problems in the country. Uh, and these are two problems I really want to contribute to.
That's awesome. Thank you. Um, if you were the AJVC host, what is one question you would ask yourself?
अंकित आप इतने सीरियस क्यों?
So why are you so serious, Ankit? Let's ask it right away.
Uh, I am Aviral. So, I told you before we started the shoot, I've been following you for almost 2 3 years. I think I read your first post somewhere in between the two COVIDs,
Okay.
right? So, for me, it's like a fanboy moment, and I'm not saying it because you're here.
Thank you.
So, you're the second person in the last 3 years I've said
Oh,
this to,
wow.
right? So, it's genuinely a fanboy moment. I really like the way you
Thank you.
write and the work you guys are
Thank
doing.
you.
It's different.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Made my week. Thank you.
Bootstrap versus funded.
Bootstrap any day. At least up to a certain point, you should bootstrap the company, because when you have limitation of resources, it allows you to innovate. It allows you to work 3x more hard, or it forces you to work 3x more hard uh, than when you have resources. Third, it just separates the men from boys, right?
Men from boys. Interesting. So I mean, my day job is funding boys. Hopefully they'll become men. I don't necessarily disagree or agree with that statement, but it's a good one. Um, how would you describe your company's culture in three terms or adjectives? They don't need to be words.
So I think insurance Dekho is a feeling. One, second, human organization. Third, people first. So feeling, human, people first. These are the three words which come to my mind.
What's one truth that few people agree with you on, Ankit?
Nobody feels that I can, when I started out, right, nobody gave me a chance. Everybody used to say, you're the sixth player, oh, tumse nahi ho payega. And we'd seen gangs of Wasipur at that point of time. So me and my core team, most of the folks are from eastern part of the country. So we'd seen gangs of Wasipur multiple times, and we used to say, "अगर हमसे ना हो पाएगा तो किसी से ना हो पाएगा." So I think the startup world, uh, it's like the Bollywood film industry, right? You have a lot of startups. It's like a lot of people go to Bollywood to become stars, but not everybody is able to be successful, right? Similarly, a lot of people start companies, but somewhere down the line they give up. It takes a lot to build a company. It genuinely takes a lot to build a company or an organization. Uh, and I think a lot of people just didn't think when we started out कि हम बना पाएंगे.
That's amazing. I think that really motivates me to write and share startup stories so much, because if you look at themes of storytelling, it is the underdog story. I think in every company that starts small and scales, there is some underdog and some determined founder who goes against what people think. Does something that I don't think people agree, and it's quite fascinating because insurance is not a new product as such. It's been there for like decades. Even in online or digital insurance, there were already players existing. So it's quite amazing what you guys have done um, in such a short span. I would say
Thank you.
it's not been very long in the life cycle of a company. Um, so congrats on that, and congrats again. I think the world has heard of the news very recently, but I'm sure it would have been in the works for a while. But let's rewind a little bit, and can we talk about your early days growing up? You mentioned you're from Bihar. Um, what was it like? Where did you decide to go to college and why? How did you jump into entrepreneurship? You were also doing a dual role at CarDekho before you fully transitioned to InsuranceDekho. Maybe would love to talk about that setup, which is kind of unique in India.
Sure. So I think, as I've said it earlier also, to understand Ankit, you have to understand Ankit's father. I think my father is my superhero. So my father came from a small village in Bihar. He was the first chartered accountant, company secretary from his village. 1976, 77 is when he had left his village uh, to go to Bombay. And he completed his chartered accountancy. Then he joined the Birla Group as accounts clerk, and then he worked his way up through the corporate ladder. So my dad's job, at least for the first 5-7 years, was rotational job, right? So he had to move from one place to another, and I was born in Assam, and then in 1988 we got transferred to Calcutta. That's my first brush with big city life, and uh, I spent quite a bit of my childhood in Bihar. So होता क्या था कि my dad was very very attached to his parents, and every 3 months my dad used to go home, and he used to take us. And Durga Puja, because Bengal used to have a long vacation, so when the entire world was coming to Bengal, we were going to Bihar, right? And that's where I had my first brush with entrepreneurship. My Dadaji had a small jewelry shop. It's not a big jewelry shop. I don't know how many of you been in villages, right? But गांव में छोटे से मनी पॉन के जो विलेज ज्वेलरी शॉप होते हैं, वैसे मैं दादाजी का एक शॉप था, एंड उसके सामने में हमें कपड़े की एक दुकान थी. So I used to sit with my dada and I used to learn how he did business, right? And every morning in our clothes shop, the person who did the first sale, my dada used to reward him with 1 rupee. Okay. And in Banya terms, parlance, we call it Bonika sale, right? So that is the first sale. And when I was there, I used to make sure that I am the guy who's doing that sale. So that's my first brush with entrepreneurship, salesman. Uh, I had a good childhood. I have a younger sister, and we both had a very good childhood. We used to love reading books. It was a typical middle class childhood, There was nothing to complain. Um, and like all middle class children, my mom and dad had, like parents decide for all middle class children, at least in our generation, they decided the day we were born that मेरा बेटा engineer बनेगा, मेरी बेटी doctor बनेगी, ठीक है. I did give IITs, but I honestly didn't want to be an engineer. No offense meant, but I couldn't see myself sitting in front of computer screens, writing code, etc. So after 12th, I took up commerce. I did my chartered accountancy and company secretaryship. Post that, I did my master's in finance and control from University of Delhi. Uh, no specific reason to choose University of Delhi except for the fact that it was a very sasta course, right? My entire tuition fee plus hostel fee was about 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees for 2 years, right? And ROI was good, so I joined them, and I got placed with UBS. Worked with them for 3 years. Came back to India in 2012. Then joined a Bangalore-based startup called MoveInSync. Was a part of the team there. 2015 is when I decided to move on. That's when I joined CarDekho Group. I had a lot of respect for what Amit was building out, and I still believe that what we built out in CarDekho, the world has just started to see the surface of it. The world has not even seen the full potential of the group. We're just starting. We're just getting there right now, right? 2016 is when I had a chat with both Amit and Board, and I told them, insurance can be a big opportunity. Why don't we look at it? So they said, why don't you build it out for us? At the right time, go out and raise independent capital. So you have to give credit to both the board of the Narsoft as well as Amit Jain for thinking far ahead of his time. I think it's now become a very normal, fact where big startups are incubating startups within their organization and allowing them to grow, right? First Cry has done it with multiple companies. Vivriti Capital is doing that. So, but CarDekho was way ahead of its time. So that's my journey. Last 7 years I've spent on building InsuranceDekho. I will not deny the valuation which Aviral has said at the starting, nor will I confirm it. Okay. So I leave it to you guys to think and imagine the valuation. But I think one thing which gives me a lot of two things actually which give me a lot of happiness is that people who stayed in Insurance Dekho call Insurance Dekho their family. They genuinely feel it is their family. Uh, you know, people who joined me in my journey when I started building the company are still there. I think that gives me a lot of happiness, and all of them have grown through the ranks. They all are leading respective functions within the organization. That is one. Second, I think is the fact that we have an opportunity to make a difference to so many lives, right? Both directly and indirectly. Today we have about 2,000 folks working in the organization, and through these 2,000 folks, we manage about 1.2 lakh agents across the country. So the beauty is not only in what we've built out, right? But the beauty is also in the way what we built out is going out and impacting lives of people. And that is what, as a founder, gives me a lot of happiness.
That's incredible. Would like to go back to your early days and how you initially kind of set up the company. What was your like first few hypotheses? How did you test them out? Can you walk us through those steps?
And also, if you can talk about the structure of the org, like I said, it's a very different start. Obviously, you've like spun out now and you're a separate company, but any thoughts on starting like that versus starting by yourself? If that would be very helpful.
So, I'll answer Aviral the second question first. I think it's slightly easier. When we started off, I think it was a right decision on my part to stay with the larger organization, because as a founder, you can just focus on execution, right? I did not have to worry about roti kapda and makan, right? I didn't have to worry whether office space hai nahi hai, वर्किंग कैपिटल है नहीं है, सैलरी देने के पैसे है नहीं है, right? That just gets solved. And as a founder, right, you just focus on doing what you're good. That's executing and building a business. So, given an option, I would ask every founder that you should go through this opportunity. Um, Also, the thing is that you get to work with so many incredible people, right? I was just never alone in the journey. If I was getting stuck somewhere, I could call up Amit, I could call up five other people, I could problem solve with that. Sometimes you don't need a solution. Also, sometimes you just need somebody to hear you out, right? So if you're just starting out, getting that is very very difficult. So I think it was a good choice on our part, and I think a great investment also uh, to go this route. Mazin, can you come again with your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, my question was just building from there. Like, what were your first few hypotheses? How did you go about like
Mazin,
testing out?
Mazin, मेरा ये मानना है कि कोई भी फाउंडर if he genuinely wants to solve a problem है ना, तो वो उसके that comes out of that founder's personal experience, right? You look at any successful business which has been built out, right? There will be a core personal story of the founder which forced him to look in that direction. Whether you hear Travis of Uber, whether you talk to the Airbnb guys, anybody, right? So I think when I came back to India, I saw the state of insurance care in the country was honestly crumbling, right? And penetration का तो problem था, that I always knew. I used to go to my village, but my dad was hospitalized in 2012, right? And he had a policy which he'd been paying for 10 years. In spite of him paying for 10 years for the policy, when he was getting discharged, right, we had to pay a huge sum of money. We genuinely had to pay a huge sum of money. ठीक है, by God's grace, money was not a challenge and we paid for it and we got my dad home. But when we spoke to our insurance agent, he said, I'm sorry, I don't know what I told you. We called up the insurance company, they said, it's your problem. You've paid the premium for 10 years. How can you say that you were not aware of this? Right? So, what do you do as a consumer? Right? That just made me realize that was I am in the top 1% in the country. My sister's a doctor. I am a chartered accountant, company secretary. My father is a chartered accountant and company secretary. My mother is also a PhD holder, and yet we were not aware of the coverages of our policy, right? And this is just health insurance. Just imagine what would be happening in life insurance. In life insurance, you actually check your policy when you're not there on this earth, right? आप अपनी पॉलिसी तब देखते हो जब आप रहते ही नहीं हो. That's when I decided I have to do something in insurtech. But 3 साल मतलब I think I just got caught in my roti kapda makan ka fight. 2016 is when I started, and when we started doing it, we started off as a shared service vertical for CarDekho group, right? We were focusing on the used car dealer business, but at some point of time we realized that the world outside is very very big. Today there is zero business which comes from CarDekho group, right? Because they're primarily doing the new car business where we do not have any overlap, right? So there is zero overlap there, and we've built out a business where we've spoken to agents, right? Understood what their pain points are, and we've solved for it. So if people ask us, are you an agent first company or a consumer first company? I say you're asking us the wrong question. We are a consumer obsessed company which is focused on solving the problem of insurance agents in the country so that they in turn can go and advise consumers in the right form and factor and make sure every Indian is buying the right policy.
Can you unpack that a little bit? If what do you mean by? I think consumer obsessed is easier to understand, but the second part about insurance agents.
Yeah, so let's do
Sure.
some role playing here
Sure.
for the right reasons. Aviral is an insurance agent. Mazin is a consumer. Mazin is highly educated, highly knowledgeable, and Mazin wants to buy a health insurance for 1 crore, right? Aviral goes to Mazin and says, ki, "Sir, I want to sell you a health insurance for 1 crore, right? The premium is 70,000 or 80,000." Mazin will tell him, "Hey, why are you giving me quote from only one company? Why are you not giving me quotes from
Right.
4 companies? Can you tell me what is the inclusion or exclusion in the policy? Can you please tell me, are the cashless hospitals near other hospitals around my home actually in the cashless list of the hospitals for the insurance companies which you've shared codes with me? Tomorrow, if I want to top up, right? How do I top up that insurance? And Aviral, let's also understand a typical insurance agent is not uh, uh, very suave. He's not an
Of
ITIM
course.
grad, right? He's somebody who's worked his way. He's somebody who's worked his way up in life, right? Who's got to a certain stature in life because of his hard work, not because of the educational qualifications he has, right? So he needs a platform which helps him answer all of Mazin's questions, right? So we are a platform which integrates all insurance companies on our platform and allows Aviral to personalize quotations which he can share with Mazin. That is one. Second, any question that Mazin has, we've created a chatbot which is AI powered, right? It's a self-learning chatbot. So you keep asking questions, our chatbot will keep getting better, right? So it helps you answer somebody's questions. Third, we are like the virtual back office. 98% of the agents in the country are single men, women agents, right? They do not have people at the back end who can help them take care of servicing. So we go out and tell our partners, you just focus on business development. We will take care of all servicing for you. Any servicing related needs, be it endorsement, be it claims, we will take care of.
Interesting. How is this different from the other insurance players? Like, you don't need to name them, just broadly the different types of um, insurance tech companies for our listeners.
So one um, so Aviral, we are in the
Right.
distribution space, not in the insurance manufacturing space, right? Um, I think the difference for us, I cannot say what others are good or bad at. I can only talk about what we are good at. We are a tech
Hmm.
focused company, right? My time in the US taught me that if you have to throw people at the problem versus throwing tech at the problem, throw tech at the problem. It may take you 2 extra weeks to solve for it, but once you solve for it, you solve for it for life, right? That is why. Second, we are obsessed with consumers and partners. Obsessed, right? I have three different touch points of communication with our agent partners, consumer partners. And every day in the night, I spend 90 minutes to go through each and every email that has come to that inbox. There's a team called the Code Red team, which directly reports into me, which has 7 people, right? Any escalation there, right? The entire company is on fire, period. That is the level of obsession we have. And I picked it up from Jeff Bezos. So I don't know if both of you are aware, there are these single question mark emails which
Yeah.
Jeff sends out, right? So in case he gets a
Yes.
consumer complaint, he will send out an email first time with a single question mark, and somebody in his office will follow up with 2 question marks if it does not get solved within a certain time, and then the final email comes with 3 question marks. That's it, right? So we picked it up, and we are really really obsessed with anything related to consumers.
Now, the other part of it is, of course, building a team, and you've spoken about how your team is like family. So, how did you go about finding your first few team members, and what are some important qualities for founders that are listening in?
Hire for passion, period. Hire for passion and attitude. Rest everything is secondary. Don't hire for degrees. Don't hire for work experience. I'm of the firm belief.
I mean, that
I'm honestly firm belief,
that makes a
right?
lot of sense, and I've heard a few people say it. But how do you hire for passion? How do you know if passion is genuine? And what are some things to look for?
Well, it is just gut feeling. Honestly, you just develop it. If you ask me, is there a codified rule? No. So I'll give you an example. I was interviewing somebody for a SEO role 2 days ago. Everybody in the team liked him, right? But what I made it a point in the company, any offer above a certain salary, right? I want to interview the person, right? And it's not a technical interview, just a attitude interview. So the guy walked in and he didn't know who the founders of the company are. So first red flag, right? He walked in and the top two buttons of his shirt were open. That's the second red flag. Third, the way he was sitting, right? uh, so I think a lot of times these things just come across, right? If you're you may not know the subject matter for the role for which you're interviewing, but at least you will do the hard work of knowing about the person that you're meeting. I have never gone for an interview, right? Even a podcast interview without actually doing my homework on the individuals who are going to interview me, right? I think that is basic respect that you give an individual. Second is the process which we follow. So in now I think things have changed, but when we were, I was personally leading recruitment, right? So we used to tell people that, hey, if you're interested to join InsuranceDekho, please write a covering letter. 50% of the applicants gone, right? From the remaining 50%, we used to, anybody we hired, right? We used to ask them to do a case study. Again, 50% of the
Which
applicants
is
gone.
drop off.
So from from your actual, you've got only 25 people left, right? So 25 people that you have, we had a predefined set of value systems which people used to interview. So there were at least 5 to 6 rounds of interviews, which did. So bam, again 50% of the people gone, right? So by the time you reach the final round, from the initial pool of 100, you only have 12 and a half people left. So these are people, who are genuinely interested in working with you and who have the right attitude. Uh, I think another thing which worked for us is we hired a lot of folks from small towns, right? I'm not saying that people from big towns don't have hunger, but people from small towns, they really want to make it big in life. They really want to make it big in life. They're willing to work 5x as hard as the nearest individual, and their ability to unlearn is not even funny. Their ability to unlearn is not even funny. Uh, so I think these are things which just work for us.
That's quite an incredible set of insights. But just putting this together, so you had the team. You spoke about some of the qualities that you were looking for. How did you go about? I mean, can you walk us through the pivot? Like how did you decide that, okay, now my product is good enough, I now want to take it to other people outside of my immediate ecosystem? What was that process like?
I honestly don't believe in piloting a product. I don't believe in that.
Okay.
Uh, it's okay for the Googles or Facebooks of the world to do that because they have billions of dollars of cash lying with them, right? My firm belief is that real products and real businesses are built on the ground, not on Excel sheets and not on air conditioned rooms. I'm sorry, I may even get trolled for saying this, but the firm belief that if you want to build a real business, then it can only be built on the ground. It cannot be sitting in a AC room, right? So when we were building the product, our product manager was always on the ground with our agent partners. Our engineers used to go and sit with our agent partners to understand what they're building out. Is it useful to them or not? And then they used to write. So our product was getting built as our business was getting built. It was not that first we built out a product, then we did beta testing with 100 people, then we sent it out. धंधा ऐसे नहीं बनता मजीद, धंधा ऐसे नहीं बनता. And I think through this platform, I would really want to say this to all the aspiring founders and the management team of startups in the country, guys. If you're really serious about building a business, focus on building a business on the ground with your consumers, not on Excel sheets, not on air conditioned rooms. The only way to build a business is by going out and building it on the ground.
Uh,
That's good advice. But can you tell us a bit about your example? Like how did you guys actually do that? Especially when you're getting started, was it just talking to agents, trying to have product managers be in their shoes? I mean,
So product manager, Mazin, I was the product manager. I was the only product manager at that point of time. Mazin, basically what we did is we went and met agents, right? And we realized all the agents carry one big bag with them. So the bag had cover notebooks, the bag had endorsement forms, the bag had check receipts, the bag had calculators, etc. Right? So we said, can we make the bag disappear for the insurance agent? If we can do that, right, that's when we build something big. So, our product manager, that is me, and there's a guy called Yajur who's now heading product for us. So, me and Yajur, we used to go and sit with our agents, understand why they need a particular item in their bag. Then we used to write the PRD, right? Uh, sit with our tech team, uh, sit with the agent partner, show him, sir, अगर हम ऐसे बनाएंगे तो आपके लिए क्या ये useful होगा? The agent used to say yes, and then we used to build it, right? And obviously, insurance is a very local business, right? So what may work in North India may not actually work in South India. What may work in East may not work in West. So when you're building something out like this, you have to make sure that you're talking to at least 4 or 5 different people to understand what is their need, and then you try to create one comprehensive product, right, which suits for everybody. So our approach was very simple. Every feature that we built, one, First, we met with agents, understood that what we need to build for 12 months. Then every feature that we built it along with our agent partners.
Ankit, one question on your earlier point. It was quite interesting, I thought, which is from day one, you shouldn't pilot a product. You should just like go out there and build with your customers. Um, Now,
Yeah.
in the situation that you are in, you are selling to a kind of a small business. I don't know if it's the right way to look at it, but it has some B2B flavor. Any thoughts on that formula for, let's say, a consumer tech company or like a large scale social company? How could they do it? If you have some thoughts on that,
Well, Aviral, I may not be the right person, but I'll take a stab at it. Uh, for me, my consumer was the
right?
agent partner, right? But for somebody who's in the consumer space, their end consumer is going to be a consumer, right? So they just need to replace the agent
Right.
with the consumer. You need to go and talk to people and understand that, boss, I'm building this for you. Do you think this is going to
Hmm.
be of use to you? And show them the feature and build it with them. That's it. I will not take the name of a company, but right, there are two ways to do insurance selling, right? One is the moment somebody puts your number, puts their number on your website, you
Hmm.
start calling him. The other option is, you allow somebody to put his or her number, and then you allow the individual to schedule a call with you, and then you do a consultative call with the person, right? Saying, hey, you may actually not need insurance. That's also okay, right? I think the second option is harder and difficult to scale, but the second option is more long term and it's
Right.
going to stay. And I think people actually realize that.
And why do you think the insurance industry has such a bad reputation in general? Is it because of
I don't, I don't think, sorry to interrupt you here, but I don't think we have a bad reputation. It's just that it's a very difficult
right?
subject, right? Or it's a complicated subject, and a lot of things get hidden behind terms and conditions. So I would urge everybody to please ask question when they are paying
Hmm.
for a policy or when they are buying a policy. If you ask question and your question get answered, then things get solved.
Talking about the insurance industry in general, I think it's evolved quite a bit. A lot of tech kind of coming into it. One of the questions that I like to ask: why do you think a lot of these big insurance companies cannot do tech? Like, what do you think the challenges are?
So I think it would be a wrong statement to make that they can't do tech. A lot of companies are doing tech. Give you an example, Reliance, which has upwards of 10,000 crores of premium a year, right? They run the entire company with 5,000 people, right? And they're split across 1,500 plus cities in the country. They sell upwards of 30-40 million policies a year, right? So our definition of tech is very different from their definition of tech. The problem is that the young generation wants to color everything with their definition of things, right? So hunger. I'll give you a very human example, right? Hunger, by definition, right, can mean different things for different people. For me, hunger, satisfying my hunger would probably be having paneer and dal makhani and naan every day. But for somebody else, it would just be rice and dal. For him, what I am doing is just greed, right? So they all are doing tech. I think it's just the pace of tech uh, transition might be different, but I think COVID has forced everybody to transition on this side faster, and insurance companies are taking that step.
Yeah, any other maybe let me open it up to you. Any other kind of insights that you learned that you did not know about before you started this business, but did as you were kind of going through the process?
I think, see, you'll have to understand that any business, especially in India, is a business of emotion and people, right? So when you build a company, don't only build it with uh, performance as a metric. Build it with people as a metric also. I think organizations which build or which get built with both people and performance as a metric outlive other organizations. So that is the only insight I think which I would want to share with everybody here through you guys.
That's quite a good one. Can you tell us how you do that? Because those are two different kind of hard to put together, right? So, what are some things that you do to combine people and
So I think so. I have this email ID ceo@insuranceDekho.com, right? So anybody in the organization, if they have a concern or they want to flag something, they can send an email, anonymous email to that email ID, and I get involved. So about 2 days ago, a boy reached out to me. He's been with the company for 20 months. He's been a top performer. But I think last 2 months there was some issues. He was not being able to perform, and a PIP got issued to him. Right? We had automated the PIP system, saying that if you're X months in the system, you have to deliver this, else a PIP will get issued to you. So we probably did the right thing from an organization perspective, because at mass, right, you need to make sure that systems are institutionalized. But nobody spoke to that individual who's been a top performer for 6 straight quarters, right, to understand what happened that his performance had dipped. He was actually going through some personal issue at home, because of which he was not able to concentrate on work, right? And to top it up, if he had the fear of losing his job, right, there was no way he could perform, and his situation at home would also go worse, right? I think we as organizations need to go beyond numbers and understand why individuals are not able to perform. If you're able to do that, then every single person in the organization will be a performer.
That is interesting. Um, Ankit, on your recent fundraise, where do you plan to allocate the resources? Is there a specific reason why you raised, or is it to turbocharge growth? Are there additional avenues that you're thinking of while scaling as well?
So I think Aviral, one, we raised capital because we were, we always look at the kind of partners we are raising capital from, right? In MUFG, in BNP Paribas Cardiff, in Beams Fintech, in UGHG. I think we've got great partners who complement the earlier set of investors we had. The earlier set of investors would be the Goldman, TVS Capitals of the world, right? So I think strong complementary set of investors we had. That is one. Second, we raise capital primarily because of 3 or 4 reasons. You don't know how the global macros are going to evolve over the next 3-4 quarters, right? I personally think the macros may not be that favorable, right? So if capital was available, it was to shore up capital and have it with you in your balance sheet. Uh, Also, the core business is doing well for us. There are a couple of new initiatives which we are chasing. So we wanted to make sure that we have enough capital to support them. Lastly, we are going to use this capital for some strategic M&A opportunities, do some branding marketing. There's also, we plan to get into the insurance business. So that requires a certain minimum threshold in terms of net worth, etc. So we'll be doing that.
And what's next for the firm? Let's say if you look at 3 to 5 years, what are you planning to build to?
So in the next 5 years, we will be probably a 25,000 crore premium company, right? That's one. Second, India has 6 lakh villages. The dream which I started InsuranceDekho with was that can we take InsuranceDekho to 6 lakh villages in the country? If I'm able to do that, I would have changed the way India buys and sells insurance. That is a core focus area for me. And the dream is that in the next 3 to 5 years, we take uh, insurance distribution to every single village in the country. So we started with states, then we moved to cities, now we are in towns, then we go to districts, then we go to villages. So it's completely thought out, right? By when do we need to get to every district? It's completely thought out. And then from district, how do we go to every village? That's also thought out.
Awesome. I think the grassroots story that you have personally is also now playing out uh, in the company. So that's awesome. And I think that you're thinking of India as a whole rather than just focusing on some particular areas that are probably wealthier or have more access. Just to close out, Ankit, why we call this Founders Unfiltered, what's one piece of unfiltered feedback you received as an entrepreneur that really changed your perspective? And the more brutal and honest it is, it would be better if you could share.
So I think this is sometime during COVID wave one. Uh, uh, the entire world was in home. It you could not meet people. Business had come to a grinding halt, right? And uh, I was also a little worried, like all founders were. I met somebody at that point of time, and he's a successful founder. Somebody who's built a unicorn. Uh, he told me, Ankit, a founder has to be an island of emotions. Period. You may have a storm raging inside you. You may have a storm raging outside you, but you just have to, be an island
Mm,
of emotions. It took me almost 12 to 15 months to understand it, and I think now I'm 90% there. Uh, no matter what is happening, I still have to get up every day in the morning, make sure I look smart, I look chic,
mm,
get to office, and put up a show because there are 2,000 people who work directly with me at InsuranceDekho, and there are about 1.5 lakh people, between 1 to 1.2 lakh agents who are dependent on us. Right. So this is for all the founders out there. You have to be an island of emotions.
awesome. Ankit, with that, thank you for joining us. Had a wonderful chat
Thank
and
you so
loved
much.
hearing about your journey.
Same here, Aviral. Same here, Mazin. And I'll see you in Thailand in a couple of weeks, buddy. Cheers. Thank you so much, guys.